Here's Dawgs. This is the first edition of Season 2. Chase Whitwiska, as you see on your screen, joins me, Casey Porter, as we do each and every week. We missed last week because we were busy. Baseball season started, so things get in the way. And so we weren't able to put a show together last week, but we were so excited. We already have a good crowd ready to go for tonight's show. We have a big show ahead of you. So, Chase, how are you doing this evening? Welcome in.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm excited to get in, man. There's a lot of stuff to talk about.
No doubt about it. Okay, so first of all, you have the Gavin Lux injury, and then you have the Miguelrojas situation to where he's just absolutely just tattooing the ball right now. Of course, it's only spring training, and it's early, but, you know, a lot of good early signs. And then Noah Syndergaard has pitched very well. His velo is not exactly where he wants it to be, but Dustin May looked good in his last outing. Ryan Pepio, his slider looks fantastic. He reshaped it in the sense that he can make it a little bit smaller to make it cutterish looking, to keep it in the zone a little bit better, so he can access the zone better, or he can make it bigger, give it depth, give some curveball. Michael Grove reshaped his fastball as well. So things are looking up. So initial thoughts on spring training to anybody in the audience and to you, Chase.
Man, it's been a lot of fun to watch. It sucks to see Gavin Lux go down, man, and to listen to, you know, his interview post-injury and things like that, where he's crying and emotional. It's tough to see, you know, because going into the season, I think in every Dodger fan's mind, you know, that's your everyday shortstop. And to see him go down, I mean, simply just running to a base, it sucks. You know, supposedly the surgery went well. I did see that there was, they found out it was a little bit more, there was a little bit more damage to the LCL when they thought it was just, they thought it was just sprained. But man, to see him emotional like that sucked. But to see the performance of guys like, you know, Jason Hayward, Noah Syndergaard, Dustin May looks really, really good. There's a lot of good things to look at, man. And Rojas, like you said, he's lighting it up offensively. And I don't think that there should be any concern on anybody, you know, or from anybody, in regards to his defense, because the guy can play defense, man. So I'm excited to you know, continue to keep up with it, and man, just see how it plays out.
And James Outman has absolutely taken the opportunities he gave last year. Of course, he struck out some, but he took the opportunities he got last year and took off with them. And he's doing it again here in this spring training. And I know some people think he's not going to make the opening day roster. If it continues like this and he continues to take advantage of his opportunities like he has, and he doesn't make the opening day roster, there's something wrong.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And, you know, we'll get into this a little bit later, you know, but we're going to, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about, you know, who we think should be the starting outfield on opening day. And I'll just be honest with you. He's in my top 3 right now. So, I mean, just by his performance, man, he's
Mookie, James, and Jason would be my guess, right? Yeah.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah. I think most Dodgers feel that way. So continue on. Yeah.
Yeah, man. You know, I don't know. So I like to look at guys when we're talking. I guess we can go ahead and talk about the outfield. I don't mind Chris Taylor in the outfield. I don't mind Trace Thompson in the outfield.
Sure.
There's a lot of, I mean, there's 5 good outfielders right there that we just named within the last couple seconds. You know, but to see the improvement, I guess you could say, from Jason Hayward coming into spring training, you know, with the injury last season, everybody's they weren't sure, you know, how he was going to come in and perform. I think he's done a fantastic job. I saw an interview not too long ago with Freddie Freeman. He was talking about Jason Hayward and how they've, you know, been buddies for a long time. And, you know, he's seen the best of Jason Hayward, and he knows that there's a lot in there. He said that, you know, he came in with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder to kind of prove everybody wrong, after he had kind of a down year last year, and just some of the improvements he's made with his swing, man. I think that, you know, if he's not playing the outfield, I think he has a chance to be the DH.
Yeah, JD Martinez, Mike says early on it is spring training, but early on not impressed with Martinez, Peralta, and Taylor. Hope they can step it up offensively in the regular season, and I'm sure they will. You know, those are proven veterans. We've talked about several different times that the Dodgers like to go out and get veterans, and you know, I think you need to have a I think the Dodgers would rather have like a 33, 34, 35-year-old who has a track record over a rookie. But like we said, if Jamesoutman continues to perform the way he is, and also Andy Pages, I don't know if you've seen him in spring training. He lost 25 pounds, and he looks absolutely fantastic. He looks like a guy to me that might get major league playing time this year. He's on that kind of mission. And Johnny DeLuca. Johnny DeLuca is a guy who has every single tool. He has the speed. He has the power. He's a guy that, in my opinion, year in and year out consistently has the ability to be a 20-20 guy, and on the right year could be a 30-30 guy. So add those two guys in the mix, then you got guys like Bradley Zimmer, Steven Duggar, and guys like that. And so, I mean, it's a completely crowded outfield, and it's one that there is a lot of competition. You're breaking away now for the World Baseball Classic. So this last couple weeks, 3 weeks or however long it is of spring training, is going to continue to be fascinating.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And, good for us being in Oklahoma, man. We're going to see a lot of good baseball. We're going to see a lot of good outfielders here in Oklahoma City. I was looking at some pictures and some video, of Andy Pages coming into spring training, man. He went from looking like a linebacker to looking like a DB. He looks really, really good. I think you're going to see a big time improvement in his speed. I don't think that he's going to lose any of his arm talent. I don't think that he's going to lose any of his power. Just with his swing and the way that he generates things. I don't think you're going to see a lot of decline in that. I think that he's really just slimmed up and really cut. He looks good.
I would totally agree with that, and it just looks to me like because he's lost that 25 pounds, he doesn't have to create that tilt quite as much to get the ball in the air. I think he can access, the air as far as hitting fly balls a little differently, being down 25 pounds. So yeah, he looks absolutely fantastic. Hey, I forgot to mention our prospect feature tonight is on one of the up-and-coming, fastest rising right-handed pitchers in the game, Nick Frasso. So very excited to talk about him. I know you're big into pitching, Chase, and so that's going to be fun talking about him. Austin Brubaker, Gavin's injury has put a damper on what has been a fun spring so far. Lots of good signs and plenty of opportunities for the younger guys to grow. Really glad baseball is back. And hey, good evening, Austin Brubaker, and congratulations for being in Cooperstown, New York. How about that? Checking in from Cooperstown, Austin is.
Man, I'm jealous. I'm stuck here in, Oklahoma City. Luckily, the weather's pretty nice right now. I can't complain about it too much. But man, Cooperstown would be a fun place to be right now. That's for sure.
I just got my son off to London yesterday, so he was in New York City. Probably about noon yesterday. Then flew the 8 hours over to London to see his girlfriend. So got him off. Hey, let's get back to Miguel Rojas. And again, the Dodgers went and got him. We've talked about it a couple of different occasions for insurance, for whatever infield position they needed insurance for. And turned out they're going to need it faster than they thought because of the Gavin Lux injury. You'd have to assume, and Dave Roberts has said Miguel Rojas is going to be, the bulk starter at shortstop. And, there's kind of this perception because he's been so good defensively that, and last year he did struggle. I mean, last year he hit, what did he hit? 230 something. So, yeah. So last year was not good offensively for him, but he is a 260 career hitter. It's not like he's been a bad offensive player, so he hit 265 in 2021. He hit 304 in 2020, and his career OPS is 672, which, 672 OPS is not elite by any category or any shape or form. But, Chase, what excites me about him is his on-base percentage is 314, and he has really good bat-to-ball skills, and we talk about all the time how the Dodgers just kind of need that guy that might hit that ground ball up the middle and just put the ball in play from time to time, and he seems like a guy that can do that. Now, these numbers were from a couple years ago, and I know he's a little bit older now. He's 35 years old, but, he's also going to be in a better offense. He's going to have better offensive players around him, so he's going to get better pitching to hit. So I think Miguel Rojas has a chance to, all the Dodgers really need out of him is 250, 260, hit 5 or 6 home runs, have a 300 on-base percentage, put the ball in play, don't strike out a whole lot. I don't think he struck out yet this spring, so I'm excited about Miguel Rojas.
Man, I am too, and I like how you mentioned, that he's surrounded by offensive firepower.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not necessarily worried about his offense, to be honest with you. And I think that, going back to your point, with him being surrounded by, those big names with the big bats, he's going to see better
Hmm.
pitching because, in my mind, if I'm pitching, I'd much rather throw to him than I would to Freddie. I'd much rather throw to him than I would to Mookie. Um, so I'm going to attack him,
Hmm.
and try to give him just my best pitches, and just say, if you beat me, you beat me. Because I know that, more than likely I'm going to get beat by one of those other guys here pretty soon. Just because of how talented they are. So I
And
think
if you
that
do,
you're
you
gonna
don't need another guy on base.
right, right. And I
Yeah.
think that he's gonna be that role guy, like you
Hmm.
said, that just he gets his base hits and he gets on base, which sets up RBI opportunities. It sets up multi-run home runs. It sets up a
Hmm.
whole lot.
And the leadership, man, he is already a leader on this team. I mean, it is real. And you talk about Miguelvargas, who's not swinging the bat yet, but I don't know if you saw the defense he played the other day. He went to right field, made a nice catch, and then he made a couple of nice plays on ground balls. And I really think getting to play next to Miguel Rojas. We've talked about this several times, but I'm just as equally as excited about that role for Rojas helping Miguel Vargas as I am anything else.
Yeah, we talked about the mentorship part when the trade first went through. I think we were a little surprised, but it's almost like the Dodgers knew that something was going to happen, whether
Yeah.
that was to Lux or to another infielder.
Yeah.
And as unfortunate as it is, I'm really glad that we have a guy, like Rojas, who's experienced and who's
Hmm.
proven to be a very, very elite defender. Um, and again, offensively, we'll see what happens. I'm not super
Coming off
concerned
Tommy
with
John.
the other bats that you have in the lineup. So I think that they're in really, really good shape.
Did you see Dustin May's last performance, man? I tell you what, Dustin May, of course, he's coming off the Tommy John. So, the thing about Tommy John is there's not probably going to be any pain to it. But what I hear from these guys, time and time again, that have come off the Tommy John, which is almost every single pitching prospect in the Dodgers organization, is it doesn't hurt, nothing like that. It just doesn't feel the same. So your command's not the same. You're not feeling it the way you normally would. So it doesn't feel like you're hitting your spots like you normally do. Okay, but having said that, watching Dustin May the other day, it just brought back that, in my opinion, Dustin May has the absolute best raw stuff of any pitcher in the Dodgers organization, and that's saying a lot because you have the Bobby Millers and now the Noah Syndergaards and the Walker Buehlers and all these guys, the Nick Frassos, the Nick Nestrinis, Kyle Hertz, and these guys, Emmett Sheehans. I think Dustin May has the best raw stuff. When you look at the way his ball explodes, that last 5 feet. You've been in high in big time situations, and that there's some guys that just it seems like that last 5 feet that ball explodes. You know what I mean, to the
Yeah,
catcher,
absolutely.
and then it has late movement to move off the barrel, and then as long as he gets that great extension. So his 98 looks like about 104 to the hitter for an effective velocity, and then he has just goofy enough of kind of an arm whip to his release that it's just uncomfortable for hitters. So it's just Dustin May's insane to me.
Yeah, man, and I'm not much to talk about spin rate. I'm not talking. I mean,
Sure.
stuff like that. I'm not a really big numbers guy. I know that stuff's important, and I know it kind of tells the tale, if you will. But man, like you said, that last 5 feet, it looks like it really jumps. And it has a lot to do with how much spin he puts on the ball. In terms of his off-speed pitches, man, his off-speed is gross, and there's
Yes.
no other way to put it. And it's just because it has such late break, which
Hmm.
makes it so difficult for a hitter, man. It makes it so hard. When
Humans
it's
aren't supposed to throw 98-mile-an-hour sinkers that look like frisbees. They're not supposed to be able to do that.
it's not natural. It's a freakishly weird thing, and man, with the way the game's going now, it seems like it's becoming more and more common to see guys that are able to run it up to 95, 97,
Hmm.
whatever, but he's able to do that with a sinking fastball,
Hmm.
which is beyond me, because if you look at how much that sucker breaks and then put it into perspective, this thing's breaking a ton.
It is.
So when it's coming in at 98 plus the break, how do you hit it?
Yeah,
You just close your eyes and whisper the
I don't
best.
know, honestly. Good luck is my, I mean, one of those deals where, the guy on deck goes, hey, what's he got? And he goes, hell if I know. All I know is if you see those 3 pitches, good luck. He's one of those guys. Hey, good evening, Tamale. We're so glad that you finally caught one of these shows live, and we're going to break down Nick Frasso in our prospect feature segment, but we're talking a little bit about spring training first. Hey, did you get a chance to see Gavin Stone's 1 inning the other day? How about that changeup? Holy
Man,
cow.
I love his changeup. It's incredible. It really
It
is.
is.
It's in my opinion, it's his best pitch. It's his plus plus. I think that and I'll say this time and again, a good changeup is the hardest pitch to hit in baseball. Everything looks like a fastball until you get the late dive, until you get the late run. And with what he's able to do with that, it's insane. It's impressive. He's going to make a lot of money off that pitch.
No doubt. Okay, so Michael Grove, I'm glad Mike brought this up. He looked good the other day, and he did. I had a chance to talk to him. A lot of these Dodgers made offseason adjustments. We're going to talk about some that Pepio made, Michael Grove made. It seemed like a lot of them made similar adjustments with their slider. Good evening, Valerie. Thank you very much for your kind words there, calling us a dynamic duo. We love it when you join. This is fantastic. We love the interaction. We have such a wonderful community here to talk Dodgers baseball, which we love. Let's talk Michael Grove adjustments specifically, though, Chase. He's always had the big curveball, right? And then he's always had a good fastball that has good ride to it. And he's very athletic. If you've ever seen him play football, he was a running back, and he was just extremely athletic, a great athlete. His motion is extremely athletic. I have an article that kind of just shows exactly how athletic he is. Okay, so what he did last year, Chase, was that he would get to 2 strikes really well. He'd ride the top of the zone with the fastball. He'd dump in a curveball, and it'd be like 0-2, 1-2. Okay, well, then he didn't have a put-away pitch. So what he's done this year is he added a slider, and he's kind of has a couple different depths to it to have put-away pitches for right-handers. So I think he's probably going to try to put away lefties with that curveball and then dump the slider into lefties for the strike and then dump the curveball into righties for a strike and then try to put them away with 2 strikes with the slider. So coming into this year, in the offseason, I should say, his number one focus was, I have got to figure out a put-away pitch with 2 strikes. He feels like that slider will do it for him.
Yeah, and a slider is impressive because not only does it change in depth, but it changes from side to side, which is the biggest difference, between a curveball and a slider. I personally, it all comes down to personal opinion. I'm more of a fan of the slider just because you have the depth and you have the side to side movement.
Yes.
On a good slider. On a bad slider, when it's moving side to side, it's not very effective. In my opinion,
that's a cutter nowadays. They call that a cutter nowadays, by the way.
Right. And I think that not only are you going to see him try to put guys away, right-handers, with that slider, but I also think you're going to see a lot of back foot sliders for the left-handers. The ones that just kind of drop off the table, especially after they've seen the 12-6. It's really loopy, it's really bendy. And coming out of the hand, I'm sure it's going to look pretty similar. But it's going to come in about, I'd say 4 or 5 miles an hour faster. And it's going to be completely different in terms of where it ends up. So I think that you're going to see a lot of back foot stuff too.
Yeah. Kyle Hurt threw a 91-mile-an-hour slider earlier this year. I was like, you got to be kidding me. A 91-mile-an-hour slider. Austin Brubaker says, holy cow, has Gavin looked great the past 2 outings? Yes, absolutely has. His stuff is absolutely wicked. I know Austin's had a chance to sit behind him like you and I both have. Until you actually get to see Gavin Stone in person from directly behind him and see just how his ball just moves, you really don't quite understand exactly how good Gavin Stone is. So, yes, his stuff is wicked. And Austin loved the way he mixed his pitches and used the pitch clock to his advantage. That's a good point, too, because the pitch clock, and I talked to Landon Knack about this. I asked him what he thought. He said, you know what, I didn't have a violation, and it was 18 seconds at Double-A last year. He didn't have a problem with it. He liked it. He thought moving it to 20 seconds was going to make all the difference in the world. So he likes the pitch clock. But one thing that pitchers have realized they can do is, hey, yeah, you got to start getting set. But then once you get set and come set, then you can hold it as long as you want. There's no pitch clock at that point. So they're using that as a timing advantage.
Right, absolutely. And something that we have really harped on our guys, I'll go back to, I'm coaching in high school, and one thing that we really harp on is mixing up timing. And that's not just with come and set. We have different calls for different things. Going from a 2-second hold to an 8-second hold to a 6-second hold. It throws off the timing of the runner, and it really makes the batter mad, which is lovely as a pitcher. To me, I think if I were to pitch with a pitch clock, I'd like it simply because I'm a tempo guy. Once I find my rhythm, I'm just give me the ball, give me the call, and let's go. And I think it's going to be easier for guys to find rhythm once they adjust to it. At least for myself, I would have had no issue with it just because I'm catch the ball, get the sign, and make the pitch. But yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people don't like the pitch clock. So
if you've ever been to a college baseball game and watched a college pitching coach call pitches, and a game lasts 3.5, 4 hours because of this college pitching coach going through 17 signals with runners on base, you realize that a pitch clock is needed.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, and that's why I love. We're Oklahoma State guys. Vanderbilt kind of started. It was
yes, they did.
Tennessee, the little wristwatch thing. They just check the wristwatch. Hey, we're throwing a curveball away. Get the call, and they go and do it. And I think that definitely helps in terms of when there's a pitch clock, because when you're given signs, there's guys that are in the opposing dugout that are. I mean, their job is to pick your signs, to try to figure out what you're doing. And with this little band, I think that's near impossible.
Hey, thoughts on Noah Syndergaard? I thought he looked pretty good the other day. Reports are, of course, I don't get StatCast data with these broadcasts, and I try to look it up. I haven't been able to find it. So reports are velo is down, but to me, it looked like he was commanding the top of the zone well. He had depth to his slider. He was commanding the glove side part of the zone very well, which is a big aspect of his pitching. So what do you think of Noah Syndergaard?
Man, I was really impressed with him, especially, coming off the Tommy John surgery. You hit the nail on the head when you say that guys just don't feel the same. There's not a lot of the same feel. You can't seem to figure out what your mechanics used to be. They can't. Right. Nothing seems right. Nothing seems comfortable. And for him to just come in and pound the zone, sure, the velo may be down a little bit, but he was extremely effective. He hadn't given up a run yet. And I think when that velo jumps back up, which it will, once he gets, into May, into June, you'll see that velo jump. And man, I want to knock on wood when I say this, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's a Cy Young finalist.
Wow. Yeah. Tomatley says Stone looks confident out there, no doubt about it. Gavin Stone is a very confident young man. Hey, I know that I think Mike hit on it just a minute ago, but worried about JD Martinez at all? I know he worked with Miguelvargas quite a bit in the offseason, and he wants to be a Dodger. He's reunited with Robert Van Scoyoc, but are you worried at all about JD Martinez?
Coming into spring training, I had kind of high expectations for him, just because, it seemed like I think he was the guy that I was talking about, that every time he switched organizations, he seemed to find something, some kind of spark, and it hadn't seemed like that's happened yet. And he had kind of a down year last year. His numbers have degressed over the past couple of years, so I am a little concerned. And I'm not afraid to say that I could see, if Jason Hayward's not starting in the outfield, I could see him taking that DH spot.
What about Michael Busch?
That's
my vote.
Yeah, I know it is.
How I think about Michael, and I've seen him play many, many years.
Right.
And I know all of his coaches that have coached him that know all this stuff. I've talked to him. That's my vote. That's all I'll say about that.
I don't blame
if
you
JD
one
doesn't
bit.
handle it.
Yeah. I don't blame you one bit when you say that. I just think that with the way that Doc has done things, I think he's going to go with an older guy, and rightfully so. I mean, I understand it. I get it.
Yeah.
guys that have shown to be really successful at the big league level. Um, man, it's just hard. I mean, you know what I'm saying? He's a young guy. Um, I do, without a doubt. I think he can do it. I just think that they're going to go a different direction because he's a rookie and they have some veterans on there that could fill that spot as well.
Yep. Okay. Valerie wants to know Andre Jackson. Okay. First of all, let me address Andre Jackson. I'm so proud of this young man. I had a chance to talk to him at the end of 2021, and he was a little bit on that. You remember he made his major league debut that year, and he did well. And then he kind of got on that Mitch White train where he was just back and forth, back and forth. And by the end of 2021, I had a chance to talk to him. He's like, you know what? My velo is like 91, 92. It's down a little bit. And then at the beginning of last year, 2022, man, he just was off. He struggled. He got put on the developmental list, went down, worked on a few things, and came back. And I have not talked to him about this. I never will. I don't like to pry in this scenario. These types of scenarios, I don't consider myself an investigative type news reporter. Does that make sense? I don't like prying like that into guys' businesses. But I will say this, Andre Jackson found out the type of pitcher he is, in my opinion. I think he was chasing the velo. Hey, he wanted to be just like all the other guys, that 96, 97 with the slider and the spin rate up in the zone. I think he realized, hey, I just need to throw my changeup. And I need to land my changeup in the strike zone and then throw the fastball off of the changeup. And I can be that type of pitcher. I don't want to compare him to Greg Maddux, but that philosophy of a type of pitcher. And I think he finally realized that's when he's at his best. And since he's gone to that type of philosophy where he's basing his arsenal, instead of basing his arsenal around velo and then getting the velo and then throwing the off speed off of that, he's throwing the changeup and then making his fastball look faster because the changeup is landing so often. I think that's really helped Andre Jackson. And for that very fact, he's already on the 40-man. I think you're going to see him quite a bit with LA, and I think he's going to be successful.
I'm right there with you, man. And I think that there's been so much emphasis, especially in today's baseball, that has been put on velocity.
Yes.
And you don't have to throw 97 miles an hour to be effective. In high school,
it
you
helps.
Don't have to,
it helps.
Right.
I'd like to throw 97, but
right. In high school or in college, you don't have to. You don't have to be mid to upper 90s to be effective. You really don't. If you have good enough stuff, that's going to make you talented. That's going to make you good. It's going to make you effective. If you can make your stuff move and you can throw everything for a strike. If I can throw a 2-0 changeup and freeze you and get to 2-1, I've done my job.
Yep.
You can be effective with 90. You can be effective with 92, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the effective velocity. So, like, to time an inside fastball, right? Let's say you throw a fastball at 92. If it's on the inner half, you actually have to time it at 96 to be able to hit it. Does that make sense? Because you got to get the barrel out a little bit further out front of you to hit the ball, right? Well, that same 92-mile fastball in the outer half, you're actually timing 88. So just by being able to locate your fastball on both sides of the plate, you're giving it different timings by about 8 miles an hour. So guys that can locate both sides of the plate, they're able, that's called effective velocity. They're able to create bad timing for hitters because of that. Andre's done a very good job of that. This is a great point from Tomatley. Bush is battling, having good at bats, but might be pressing. I will take the might out of that. I'll guarantee he is pressing. He is so competitive. Needs a nice double or home run. No doubt about that. Okay, we're about to run out of time here. We're probably going to have to reconnect here in a minute because we want to get to this Frasso stuff. Okay, let me say this about Michael Bush, and he's notoriously a slow starter. Always has been. And if you look at even 2021, his last 3 months of that season were unbelievable. So that was the one big concern I had was with Michael Bush was coming in trying to compete and battle for these spots. He never has been a fast starter, probably because he's from Minnesota and, his whole entire life until about April or May, maybe even June, was in a cage. And so, just naturally became a slow starter. I was worried about him starting slow And I agree with Tomatley from that perspective. My point with him is, I will promise you, if you settle him in and say, hey, you're going to be the DH or the second baseman for 2 months, and we're going to get you, 200 at bats, no matter how you hit, I promise you'll see the real Michael Busch. That's where I'm at with him. But totally agree with there, Tomatley.
Yeah, no. To bounce off of you, real quick, we mentioned Ryan Pepio. I want to get into him real fast. With the adjustments that he made, I was able to right before we hopped on here, I was able to go through some film of him last year.
That's my new dog, by the way. We got a new pit bull just the other day, so I apologize for that. I can't stop it. Don't want to stop it. So there you go.
I was able to look at some film of him in 2022 compared to his spring training film. It's different. The adjustments he made, it looks good. The couple of things that I noticed is he's really pulling himself through the zone, if you will. He's pulling himself towards the catcher, and he's staying skinny. Before he was kind of flying. His arm was kind of more of a mid to high 3/4, I'd say. He looks a lot more in line, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
He's done a lot of work to his body to allow him to access those movements and those positions, and so that's why you're seeing that.
He looks compact, if you will.
He does.
It looks good. It looks really good. And honestly, I prefer the 2023 Pepio.
Yeah.
As compared to the 2022 in terms of mechanics.
Yeah. Well, and as far as, let's get away from mechanics, because I'm not real good at pitching mechanics. You're way better at that than I am. You can return to that here in a minute. But as far as the mix goes, the two biggest things he did was, he has this slider, and what he's done to it is, just go watch his first couple performances. What he's done is, to get ahead in the count, he's made his slider smaller, like a cutter. Does it make sense? And he puts less movement on it, just kind of as to get me over. And then whenever he has like 2 strikes on a hitter, he's made it bigger with depth for a swing and miss type of pitch. So he's listed as a 3-pitch mix right now: fastball, changeup, and slider. But he's really a 5-pitch mix, because he can make the slider smaller to get ahead in the count, just kind of as a dump me in there type of pitch to get ahead in the count, something that he struggled with last year. That's going to help him access the zone again. Then he can make it bigger, more like a curveball type deal when he's ahead in the count. And then the second big adjustment he made was to his changeup. Last year, of course, it was wicked. We mentioned a couple years ago how it's almost like a left-handed slider, and he's done away with that. It's not even fade, really. It's like break, that fade. He's done away with that and gone back to the tumble, which is going to allow him, when you're both tumbling and fading a pitch, that's really hard to control, right? So the only time, if you watch him now, the only time that he's really getting fade on that changeup, it's when he's starting it to that glove side, like that Greg Maddux pitch, and hopping it back over the inside part of the plate. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Otherwise, if he starts it down the middle, what he's doing last year, he started it down the middle of the plate, then it would fade and tumble out of the zone. Now he's starting it down the middle of the plate, and it's tumbling and staying on the plate. And that's going to allow him to access the strike zone a little bit better too. So I love the adjustments he made to his body, his mechanics, as you talked earlier, and I love the pitch mix adjustments he made as well.
Yeah, man, I think that he's really good, and he's got me excited. I think he has a good chance to make an impact in the big leagues. I really do. I think that he has a chance to make an impact for LA. And I'm excited to see his role moving forward.
Chase, I'm going to hang up with you. I'm going to talk to the crowd for a minute. I'm going to set up a new meeting. Come right back to us, and then we'll get into our Nick Frasso feature. How's that sound?
Perfect.
Okay. Let me get Chase back on the hook here. Hey, audience, if you would, go ahead and let's fill this thing in while we're waiting on Chase to rejoin us. I'm going to invite him right now. So, okay, I see that Mike left a comment. Let me get this email out to Chase just for a second, and then we will get after it again as we're going to talk about Nick Frasso here in just a minute. We've talked so far about spring training and some of the things that we have seen, And so Chase will be back on here in just a second. Okay, Mike, Devin Mann has gotten some good playing time so far. Yes, Devin Mann is the exact type of Dodger that this organization likes. He's long, he's athletic, he's lanky, and he comes from a championship pedigree there at Louisville. He was the second baseman on a College World Series team. And believe it or not, when he was in Double-A Tulsa, and I joked with Henney, the Double-A manager there, Scott Hennessy, about this, he played every position at Tulsa except for pitcher and catcher. So he is absolutely Mr. Versatility. The Dodgers love that versatility. So Devin Mann, he's one of those guys that you really, he doesn't necessarily just strike you. He doesn't stand out or stick out in any of those kinds of ways. But, if you watch him over, 120 games or so, that's when you really start appreciating what he does. We brought Chase back in here. So I love Devin Mann. Devin Mann, utility infielder. Valerie says, I like Devin Mann more than trading for a utility infielder. I wouldn't disagree with that at all. That's interesting because Pepio detractors tend to call him a 2-pitch guy destined to relieve. 5 pitches, more than enough for a starter. No doubt about it, Tomatley. And again, he's listed as a 3-pitch guy, but he can just go watch it. I've got it on my Twitter. Just go watch it. His strike 1 pitches are cutters, and his strike 2 pitches for strikeouts are curveballs, and then he has that slider in between. So, okay, we're going to get to the Nick Frasso talk. Right now, we are not going to waste any more time. Okay, so let me get this virtual camera working, and let's see if I can figure out which one it is, and we can get on with, hopefully we can. I'm not, a lot of this stuff is sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So let me get to OBS camera. This should be working right there. 1 second here. Oh, I got to start it. That's what it is. Okay. Let me start there. Okay, we got it right there. We are good to go. So, Chase, you got it. So, here we go. All right, here is Nick Frasso. You got him right, Chase?
Yes.
Okay, so Nick Frasso, first of all, he came over in the trade with Moises Brito. That sent Mitch White and Alex DeJesus. I loved Alex DeJesus. Shortstop, but Tim Rogers and we always projected him as a third baseman. I think that's where he would have ended up as a Dodger, but he came over to the Dodgers with Moises Brito for Mitch White and Alex DeJesus. So tell us what you see here.
What I see is a tall, lanky, awkward-looking son of a gun. And I mean that
uncomfortable at bat, yeah.
And I mean that in the most respectful way possible. Because it's guys like that are extremely hard to hit due to how far they get down the mound, his reach, his whip. Golly, it reminds me. I don't even know what it reminds me of, to be honest with you. I was onto something and I lost it.
Yeah.
He's a tall, goofy son of a gun. But the way that he's able to, if you saw that curveball not too long ago, he can break it off really, really well. His fastball jumps on you extremely quick, and I'm guessing he's getting down to, release at 54 feet. If you consider how far down the mound he gets, he's taken away a lot. And I'm sure that. Do you know what is his velo?
His velo, he hit. I had him at 97 with my own eyes. I have heard that he's hit as high as 98, 99.
If he's been that high, man, that looks like about 106, and that's
no doubt.
That's not an exaggeration one bit.
That's why his stock has risen maybe more than any other pitching prospect of any organization anywhere.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not much of a spin rate guy. I'm not much of a numbers guy, but I'm curious to see kind of what those are because it could.
What'd you say, Chase? I'm sorry. I was reading Austin's last comment.
No, you're good. I said I'm not much of a numbers guy, but I would be curious to see what his spin rate is and things like that because I say 106, but heck, it could be 108, 109 depending on how fast that thing is, how quick he's getting it to rotate.
I don't know exact numbers, but I can tell you his spin rate is very good.
Yeah, he's really, really impressive. I think that you're going to see. I hope we're able to hang on to him, man. I really do. I think that he's going to be a very sought after guy.
Yeah. Yeah, you're talking about a trade scenario for
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the Dodgers have so many just unbelievably talented right-handers. I could go on and on and on and on about the great pitchers that the Dodgers have. You know, from Nick Nastrini to Emmett Sheehan to the 5 rookies to this guy Nick Frasso, and then you haven't even talked about the lefties like Alec Gamboa and Lyle Lockhart and John Rooney, and then the crop below them. It's I talked to Rob Hill, the director of minor league pitching for the Dodgers this last week, and he's like, man, it's insane how much talent. He's so pumped about that. But okay, Valerie, I love Fiducia. Just worried about that he may be being showcased for a trade, and well, it'd be interesting if left-handed, long, lanky guy, very durable. What kind of value he would bring in return? That would be my question. What would the Dodgers get in return? 400 Fiducia, of course. The Dodgers are so deep at the catcher spot. I wouldn't think that they would hesitate to trade one of their catchers if they got a position of need. So that would be interesting from that scenario. Fiducia, Vivas, and my man Wardo, Ryan Ward. I love that young man. Old school tough, graduated with less than 100 young men. One of the best prospects in all the game of baseball from a hit tool perspective, especially when you consider the balance between power and average. He is just simply fantastic. I think he's overlooked because of Andy Pages. They've kind of come up together at the same time, and Pages has always been that guy that's been highly ranked. I don't mean that against Andy. Andy's very good. Okay, another comment. Nick's an electric arm. Austin's got a chance to see him. Super impressive. Guarantee the StatCast data is unreal. I would agree with that. So, Alex DeJesus, you got to see him too. He's rooting for him. DeJesus has a double with Toronto so far.
Hey, I pulled up some of Frasso's 2022 stats. He had a 1.83 ERA in 16 starts, had 54 innings pitched, 76 strikeouts, and a WHIP of .93. Talk about some numbers. I mean, that's impressive. That is extremely impressive. Came out of Loyola. I always have a really hard time saying this. Loyola Marymount.
Yeah.
They were actually here in Stillwater not too long ago, and fortunately for me, Cowboys put a whooping on them. But yeah, man, they produce some really, really, really highly talented baseball players, and especially pitchers. I had the chance to go and catch a game on I don't remember what day it was, but to see that the arms that they rolled out with, they rolled out with several in one game, just because OSU can stroke, and there's no question about that. But every pitcher that they seemed to put in was extremely, extremely good.
Yep. Tomatley says, I don't know if this is accurate, but he kind of reminds me of Mark Fidrich, the Birdman. And I totally agree with that. And another guy in the system that I totally compare to Mark Fidrich is Cole Percival. If you just watch just kind of his mechanics and his quirky, just, the way that he reacts to success and failures and all those kinds of things, it's totally fun to watch. So I love the Mark Fidrich body-wise type comparison. I think that's a fantastic comparison for him. I think that hits home very, very well. So from a stuff perspective, Chase, you're the pitching guy. Tell us what you see here a little bit more.
I see a really, really high quality curveball. If you see how quick that thing breaks down and how sharp and how hard it breaks down, in a hitter's eyes, man, it's so hard to hit, because it seems like with that velocity coming at you, it breaks down so fast and so hard. Everything looks like a fastball until it gets about, I'd say, 10 to 7 feet in front of you. And all of a sudden, it's like somebody's just spiking a volleyball down. With how good that curveball is. Oh, guy lost a bat. Sorry. Does he have
just
a
look at that guy hit. There's absolutely no load to it, and he's just trying to make contact. That tells you how this ball's getting on him fast.
Yeah, that's a very impressive changeup, by the way. Great changeup. Man, this guy gets me really, really excited.
Yeah.
He's
climbing, man. He's climbing the ranks, man. He's getting a lot of pub.
he has a whole lot of potential, man. And I hope, actually, I don't hope, I guarantee that we see him in Oklahoma City. And when he pitches, you best believe I'm going to be sitting in the stands.
Well, hopefully you're going to be interviewing him. I'm going to send you over there and hopefully get an interview out of him.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
To look up to that 6'6" frame. That's a giant man.
Brubaker has a really interesting comparison to Molly. Got to get these guys to start talking to the baseball.
Oh, man.
Like the Birdman Mark Fidrich did. I love it.
I think that
when you have the Birdman Mark Fidrich get brought up in your group chat, you've got some pretty damn good fans, don't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think Frasso,
We just need them to all have like babies and like multiply by like 3 or 4 of them. We can have a real big chat, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He seems, and I know we're kind of getting off topic, and because I'm not talking about baseball when I say this, but he seems like a very interesting person to have a conversation with.
Yeah.
In terms of how he reacts and the way that he acts and things like that. He would be a very fun person to talk to, in my opinion.
Hey, Austin, I'd be curious. Did you get a chance? Of course, this is the Loons uniform you're seeing here. Did you get a chance to see him? How many times did you? Boy, look at that changeup. Holy smokes. How many times did you get a chance to see him? Did you get a chance to sit behind him whenever he is pitching? I'd be curious to hear from Austin because I know he made it a point to sit behind Gavin Stone and several others when he had a chance to. Then that fastball up in the zone. That's pretty good. So you have that change. There's the slider. So you just saw the fastball riding up in the zone. You saw the changeup with a little bit of fade, more tumble. Then you saw the really nasty slider. So, wow.
Yeah. Catcher can't even catch it. Man, and if you look at the way how violent and aggressive
look at that.
he is.
And then he adds depth to it with 2 strikes. That's what we were talking about with Pepio earlier. You know, you have the smaller slider early to throw the strike, and then he adds depth with 2 strikes to make it look more like a curveball. I love that combination.
Yeah, the hitters look like they're having a really hard time. I haven't seen a guy step yet. But if you look, like I was saying, if you look at how aggressive and how violent he is with his hips and how he brings the backside through, you know, so not only is he using his tall, lanky frame to help him out, but man, he is really firing the hips through, which is obviously leading to more velo. And I'm curious to see, you know, if he's been able to put on any weight. And if he has, man, that's going to jump in at 100 easy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the effective velocity, because he's so long and lanky, because he gets down the hill, you know, he's going to be releasing it a lot closer to the catcher than most guys. So if he does hit 99, 100, it's going to have an effective velocity that's 104, 105, 106, and that's not an exaggeration. So, okay, Austin says, saw him for 1 start in Lansing, right behind home plate. That's what I'm talking about right there. We have the best fans of any show on earth. Right behind home plate, one of the best pitching performances of the year with Ryan as the piggyback, called up immediately afterwards. So, yeah, there you go. We have the best crowd in the world. Sat right behind him.
I will say this, and this is for any baseball fan. If you want to see how extremely talented these guys are, especially talking about pitchers, spend a little bit of extra money and sit right behind home plate. It's the best seat you're going to be able to get. And man, to see the ball move, to see how hard it comes in, to see how hard it breaks. Not only is it impressive as a pitcher, but when the hitters are able to make contact with that stuff, it's extremely impressive, and that gives you a really, really good perspective on what those guys are seeing and what they're able to do with the baseball.
Watch him drop there. Then he kind of comes behind his head with the baseball, so a hitter doesn't even pick up the release until it's almost out of his hand. So he hides the ball well, too, which is another aspect. And Tomatley says, I read about the plus fastball, but I'm seeing the nasty with his pitches. Sheesh, no doubt about it. With the jerky delivery, with the deception as far as how he delivers the ball, and then with all the nasty stuff. This guy, I mean, he has it, no doubt about it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I don't know if you saw the comment not too long ago, but Sal was asking if we could give starting lineups at the end of the live stream.
Yeah, but 100% we could give lineups. I think if you watch this, you know, we're not shy of giving our opinion, which that and about a dollar and we'll get you a cup of coffee, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, Valerie, you gotta get it going. You gotta travel the 2 hours. You need to get with Austin, and he'll get you all squared away as far as where you sit, all the amenities, and how to enjoy a Loons game. And you just need to get up there to Midland, Michigan, and watch you a Loons game.
Yeah, absolutely. Austin said he was just out of frame in a few of these shots, that's awesome. That's great.
That is. If you're on the south side of Great Lakes, you can try to make it to some of the road games. I live a few hours away from Great Lakes, but have 4 other stadiums within 2 hours. Highly recommend. That Midwest League is awesome baseball. I love that high level of baseball because, that's those guys are still climbing and they're just still so motivated and they're just so talented. So that's a fun level of baseball. Hey, Chase, before we wrap this thing up, we're going to hit on the other side of it and wrap up some thoughts on spring training. Anything else that you wanted to add about Nick Frasso?
Man, just a really, really impressive guy. And I like I said, I hope we're able to keep him because I know that he's going to be very sought after. And with how many talented right-handers the Dodgers have, I'm curious to see if we can keep him.
Yep. Okay, so we're back here for final thoughts, and I know, Mike just mentioned a minute ago that he wants us to give, our starting lineups, who we think our starting lineups would be. So, all right, let's go ahead and cut to it right now, Chase. Let's go from all 9 position spots, and what would your starting lineup be? And I'd like, as we say them, I would like for the audience to give their starting lineups too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was doing when I was jotting some stuff down over here on my paper because it was kind of hard for me to do.
Yeah.
I actually made a batting lineup too. So I got Mookie at 1 playing right. I've got Rojas at 2.
Oh, you got Rojas at 2.
If he's hitting how he is right now.
Well, yeah, okay.
I have Rojas at 2. Obviously playing short, I got Freddie at 3 playing first. I've got Smith at 4 catching. And then I've got Hayward as the DH at 5. I've got Taylor playing third at 6. I've got Vargas at 7.
You have Taylor second. Playing where?
Third.
Over Muncie?
Yep. Hot take.
Sorry. Hot take.
Man.
No doubt.
I've got Trace Thompson in left batting 8, and I have Jamesoutman playing center batting 9. And what I did see was Rojas and Outman are interchangeable.
So you have no J.D. Martinez or Max Muncy in your offensive lineup.
That's correct. Oh, man, that was fun.
All I got to say is if that's the lineup they throw out there the first day of the season, Dodgers fans are going to lose their minds.
I'm not. I'm going to be pretty happy.
Who did you have at second base?
I had Vargas.
So you're going to have Miguel Vargas and Jamesoutman in the lineup, but not J.D. Martinez or Max Muncy.
I don't like the way J.D. Martinez is performing right now. I really don't. And going based off last year, I can see you're getting a little frustrated, which is kind of funny.
I'm not frustrated. No, you and I have been in the war room plenty of times enough to know. Well, you know me well enough.
That's why this is funny, man. But
oh yeah,
I know. I mean, if you watch the show before, man, I just don't like Muncy. I don't like him. I don't know why. I know that I'm probably gonna catch heat in the comments.
Too streaky.
I don't really care. I just think that he's too inconsistent. I really do. I mean, great player. I can't get over how piss poor he was last year.
For 4 months, yeah.
Yeah, but it's so frustrating.
And he was coming off a pretty gruesome injury, man.
I know. I was just so frustrated. I was so mad.
Is there anything I can do to get you over that? Like, can we take any medicine or is there an elixir or something we can give you to get over that? I mean, the dude had an injury and he struggled for 4 months because he was injured, and then he performed very well down the stretch. And he's been really good his entire career. And by the way, I got to see him all the way back to Keller High School and at Baylor. And I got to see him twice in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And I think he went like 18 for 18 against OSU with like 8 home runs.
Maybe that's another reason I don't like him. All right. Just, I mean, as you said, we're not afraid to give our opinion. I gave mine.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. It is.
And I'm giving you hell. I'm giving you hell. Oh,
that's okay. That's okay.
No, that's exactly what this is for. Okay. So what would your starting rotation be?
Oh, God. Oh, man. Oh, I would go.
You going to go with the 5 easy ones?
Probably so.
Kershaw. Well, no, Gonsolin's going to be out for starting day. So who's going to take that 5th spot?
Syndergaard. Is
No,
Syndergaard a part of that?
Take your 4th spot. No, it's because you're going to have Urias, Kershaw, and then you're going to have May and Syndergaard. So who's going to take the 5th spot? Pepio?
I would say Pepio or Grove.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really a toss-up between those two guys, in my opinion.
No Gavin Stone? Good problem to have, isn't it?
Crap, man. I don't know.
No Bobby Miller? No
as
Andre
big
Jackson?
as big a fan as I am of Bobby Miller, I want to see him in OKC before he goes up to LA.
Yeah, here's Mike's. Rojas at short leading off, Mookie in right field batting second, Freeman at first base batting third, Will Smith catching fourth, Muncy at third in the 5-hole, Taylor in left field in the 6-hole, Vargas at second base in the 7-hole, Outman in center field in the 9-hole. Can you imagine James Outman in the 9-hole getting fastballs all day long? Okay, and then here's your situation here, and man, Mike, you and I are right on the same page here. The only thing that I would bring an argument up with is, do you platoon Chris Taylor and Jason Hayward? You know, Jason Hayward is not in that lineup. Who your DH there? Where's your DH?
I wonder if that's where Hayward comes in.
Yeah, is Hayward your DH? Do you platoon Hayward with Chris Taylor in left field? And then is JD Martinez your DH? So that would be I think I would go exactly like Mike has. I think I would make a rotation between a platoon with Taylor and yes, Mike says yes. I think Mike's on it. I think you platoon Hayward and Taylor in left, and then Hayward also DHs some. You can platoon a little bit based off of matchups with Martinez as far as that goes. Now, if JD Martinez starts hitting, that's all over. I think that's it right there. I like that. Yeah, and I know Martinez has not been impressive so far, so it's going to be up to him. But I will say this. They signed him for, $10 million, and he's going to have to be unimpressive till about July, till they decide not to play him. Would you agree with that?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
In my lineup, would it change your mind at all if I put Vargas at third? If I put Vargas at third and Chris Taylor at second?
No.
Would that make any difference?
No, that would make it worse for me.
You think so?
Of all positions on the field that I would put Chris Taylor, second base would be the last one.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. He's
too athletic. He's too athletic, and he's too streaky offensively. He needs to eat up one of the really vital defensive positions to have value. And he needs to eat up like the 3 or 4 most valuable defensive positions. So when he's like 0 for 10 and strikes out 6 times, he's still providing value for the team. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. If Muncy does what he did last year, and I know he came off an injury, but if Muncy does what he did last year.
Early?
Yes.
Yeah. Chris Taylor could go to third base. I don't have a problem with that.
I think that's what you'll see. I mean, I don't know what else you would see.
I see where you're going. Vargas could go to third base. Yeah, and Taylor or Bush could go to second. I see what you're saying there.
Right.
But Chase, I'm just telling you, I understand what you're saying, and I'm a high school coach too, and I think that's the high school coach in us coming out because we have 36 games and we have to make adjustments. You know, hey, we have like 5 or 6 games to make adjustments. You know what I'm saying? Okay, the Dodgers aren't going to do that for a long time. They're going to give runway to Muncy. Well, look what they did last year. They gave him 4 months, and it paid off for him, right?
Right.
Muncy's not coming out of lineup. JD Martinez is going to have to suck forever to not be in the lineup.
Right.
Jason Hayward is going to get every chance to be an everyday starter on this team.
Yeah, and this is not my guess as to what it's going to be opening day. That would be my lineup opening day. There's obviously there's a difference. If I was making one that I thought was going to come out on opening day, Muncy would obviously be in it, without a doubt.
Would you automatically have Miguel Vargas at second, having not even swung a bat yet, or would you have Taylor at second? I think right now you'd have to put Chris Taylor because Vargas hadn't swung a bat yet. I don't think you have any choice.
But I'm also and I know this won't happen. I know it won't happen, but I'm also not against putting Michael Busch at second base.
No, me neither. I'm not.
I mean, not one bit.
Yeah. Valerie says have to platoon Taylor because at the moment he's the utility infielder, and I will take Valerie one step further than that. I think he's also a utility outfielder as well. I think he can play center field, left field, second base, shortstop, third base, you name it. Tamale says 100% case, so we know how the Dodgers operate, whether agree or not. And boy, it's a tough one for me because I'm a prospect guy and I get to see these guys and I love these guys. And there's no human being on earth that has more faith in these guys than I do. So when you ask me, I always want to play the prospect, always. Because and same with you, Chase. Are you still? I can't tell. Yeah, okay. So, so for me, sometimes it gets frustrating for me the way the Dodgers stick with their veterans, but I've got to admit, hey, that works. It works. I can't, and we haven't even mentioned David Peralta yet, right?
Right.
So, I mean,
Yeah, no, I knew I was going to catch some heat when I took Muncy out. I knew it. I knew it for a fact. But I was okay with it. I thought it would be a little bit of fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt. I'm on the same page with Brubaker here. It's hard to draw conclusions from a small sample size with JD. He has a long track record of success. Saw that in Detroit. Very confident he'll replicate near that with larger sample size. Okay, I'm on that page, and I know the Dodgers are going to be on that page, and that's the sample size they're going to give him.
Yeah.
And should. I mean, I don't see why they shouldn't.
Right. I mean, he has had a track record of success. There's no doubt about that. Mm-hmm. I was going based off of what I've seen in the last few days of spring training.
Yeah, you're getting ganged up on right here, bro, by the way.
Hey, that's okay.
We're all firing bullets at you right now.
And I'm dodging them left and right. All right, you got to shoot better.
You're taking them like a man.
Hey, I knew when I said my lineup, I was gonna catch it, and that's perfectly okay. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Man, that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Hey, any more final thoughts from the audience? I think we're about time to get out of here. I'm getting old and tired, and I got a pit bull that's getting cranky on me. Heard on, I think it was a Fangraphs podcast, Dodgers long-term plans are still Vargas at third. Yeah, I would have to think that would be. Maybe when they're ready to move Betts to second base full-time. Yeah, that, Mookie Betts had came out and said that he wants to move back to second base at some point. So I think that's probably where they're getting that information from, was Betts came out today and said, hey, whatever the team needs me to do, I'm going to play right field if I have to, but my home is second base. That's where I feel comfortable. I hope someday I can move back there.
Which would change my lineup completely.
Yeah,
but,
no doubt.
I mean,
all right, let's go over Valerie's lineup. Okay, if I had my way, Betts leading off. You have Freeman 2-hole, Smith 3-hole, Martinez 4-hole, Vargas 5. Vargas 5-hole. Wow, third base. Rojas 6, Busch 7. Wow, I like Josh. And Outman 8. How about that, man? You've got 3 rookies out of 4 positions in the offensive lineup, and I love that confidence. Hayward 9, Peralta platoon. How about that?
And she doesn't have Muncy, baby. Let's go.
Look at you. We're ending the show on that one, man. I can't let you. Okay, hey, thanks for all the thoughts in the crowd and the audience. This was a wonderful show. Chase, do you have any final comments?
I don't, man. That was a lot of fun, and I appreciate the constructive criticism from the crowd.
Hey, fans, just a reminder, go on over to www.dodgersdaily.net for more information on all the Dodgers prospects and more. I do write some daily articles on the LA Dodgers as well. More of kind of that's where I kind of do more of my blog work. I do more of my reporting work. on the prospects. But again, that's www.dodgersdaily.net. Hey, help spread the word about Dodgers Dogs. We're going to do this every single week at 8 o'clock. Well, it's 8 o'clock our time, 6 o'clock Pacific each Wednesday night. We're going to do this Dodgers Dogs show. This was the first episode of season 2, so please spread the word so Chase and I can continue to bring you shows like this in the future. And go ahead and go on over to the Dodgers Daily YouTube page and make sure you're a subscriber. Tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily and hit that notification button and turn on those notifications so every time that we set up a live show or we set up a premiere or we just release a video, that you will get notified. And tell all your friends to turn on those notifications, because if Dodgers Dailies grows, then we can keep providing you content like this in the future, and we can keep having wonderful conversations like we had tonight with these shows. So, hey, with that, I think we're going to get out of here. We would like to thank everybody in the crowd for tuning in to Dodgers Daily and Dodgers Dogs tonight, and give a big go Dodgers.